Palantir. So Palantir AIP Con today. There he is, Mr. Carp. He's got the belly out. He's got the shirt tucked in, looking good, looking dapper. You know it's going to be a good conference when the man's got that, right? So there's a couple specific. Basically, Palantir had a ton of different folks from different companies go on stage and talk about how Palantir's helping them, right? And I just wanted to highlight a few of them so people can really understand how Palantir is really impacting these businesses very, we can call it very positively, okay? So first one up was actually AARP. And the gentleman made a funny joke about kind of like, he didn't know he was going to be the one talking right after Carp. He's like, I would have declined if I knew that was the situation or something like that. He was being funny, right? But AARP, they're talking about they have 37 million members. So whenever you have that many members and you're talking about you're dealing with, a lot of folks maybe in the older generation, I mean, it's complicated. It's very, very complicated on how you get information to these folks, how you can upsell them or downsell them, and all those sorts of things, right? When you have 37 million members. And so he was basically talking about, our business is very complex. We need a very complex product to have our business be as efficient and as good as possible, right? And he was talking about, they have all their ingested data. They can go ahead and run that through Foundry and AIP, right? So that's interesting. That's why a lot of people say, I don't want to say a lot of people, but a few people that really understand Palantir, they say AIP is really just a Trojan horse for Foundry, right? That's the way a lot of people view of AIP overall, right? So talking about Foundry, AIP, and then that lets them know what's the next best member offer model to give, right? So what's the next best offer to send to our members overall, or to even prospective members, right? That could be very valuable as well. So he talks about it, using Palantir, it enables more dynamic delivery of member value in marketing decisions at scale, targeting our operational model from a static to unified, right, interoperable, dynamic model that will enable near real-time operations at scale. Real-time. So man was talking about essentially before, they would have meetings and then they would try something out for, let's say, 6 months and then see what the results are and then try to look over the results, and then everybody would argue with each other about what's the next best way to go, right? And then they would make some sort of decision. And it sounds a little bit like the spray and pray approach that PayPal was talking about it before, right? And now basically he's saying, this is just like decisions and changes can be made like real time, right? In a matter of seconds, days, weeks if they want, versus, maybe months before, and that can help you make a lot more money if you're a business like ARP and be a lot more successful, right? Then they had this company. I thought this was a good one to highlight because this is kind of, AARP is a very famous company, huge company that, I think most people know out there, especially if you live in North America. But I bet you 99.9% of people never heard of this company before, Northwind, right? This man was talking about, I think they're in a rural part of Wisconsin, if I recall, or somewhere like that, right? And he was talking about maximizing plant efficiency, right? And he's a CEO of this company. And he was talking about industries that they sell into, like pet food, plastics, building products, food and beverage, grain, agriculture, those sorts of things, right? And he's talking about essentially there's big problems in these different industries because labor costs are increasing. We all know that, right? There's wage pressure, has been significant wage pressure over the last number of years. And whenever you're under a 4.5% unemployment rate, you're pretty much guaranteed to have a lot of wage pressure, right? And so that certainly is a problem for these sorts of industries, right? Like, this can hurt your profitability immensely, right? But then also another problem they found was prospective employees don't have the right skills, which means these people are very untrained, that if you do hire them, they don't really have the skills you need, right? And then also issues of high turnover rates, attracting younger people in the industry and things like that. But this is where clearly the problems are. Labor is very expensive, and the people you hire just don't have the right skills, and so that's where Palantir comes in. So he talks about why AIP. Well, he says our control systems essentially give contextual feedback to humans based on processing data from the plant floor, right? And so if you have somebody that's not super trained, well, if there's a system that's kind of like overlooking everything and helping them out as like an assistant, it's kind of like having an extra trained employee side by side with them, right? He says, we believe the AIP platform is the perfect tool for us to help us improve this feedback, resulting in more timely decisions, he says. Our solution, he talks about this Plant IQ assistant, right? Which, like I said, it's kind of almost like having another employee next to you that's been very trained and kind of teaching you stuff, right? And then Alarm IQ. And basically, you can type into the system, let's say like this specific example he gave here. What are the operator steps required to fill a U-spin, right? And then it spits out, okay, boom, boom, boom. Here's what you need to do. Here's what you need to do, right? And that's extremely helpful because how something like that solved before, you might need a manager to teach you, okay, how do I do this? How do I handle this, right? This he was just talking about, like, basically there was some sort of problem. He was giving this like example of like a problem. Let's say one worker went on a break and then another worker came back in and then adjusted something, but it messed something up, right? And so then you can go ahead and type in the program, like what actually happened here, like why did this go wrong? And the program will essentially spit out an answer telling you, like right here, why did the flour transfer system fault on high pressure? Right? And then it gives a whole reason, like here's why it happened. Somebody adjusted this knob to do blah, 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 right? And this is all extremely, extremely valuable stuff. So then, because these systems can be very complex, he was showing the systems overall, and it's like, unless you've been in this industry for 5-10 years, a lot of these things you're not going to know the answer to. And so it goes back to this problem he's talking about, right? Of, okay, you can pay somebody a ton of money to help hold the hand of these, first couple year of employees, right, that don't have the skills in the first place to really be on top of this game. Or you can have systems that can go ahead and alleviate a lot of those problems because, either you're going to have to pay through the roof to keep these employees around that maybe are retiring, or you're going to have messed up systems, which are going to cause all types of downtime and problems. And we know in anything that's factory related, anything production related, if you have downtime, there goes your profitability right out the window. That can completely screw your profitability if you have any sort of major downtime. And it also makes you look very bad for your customers, right? So I think that's very, very important. Very, very important. He talks about the payoff here. He says, Northwind and our customers gain access to very sophisticated AI tools, empowering their employees to make better, more timely decisions, effectively reducing downtime, increasing efficiency, and saving them hundreds of thousands of dollars. Very important, right? Very important. And he goes even further here, right? He says, we choose Palantir because their products are best in class, which I think is very important. Now, to all of us that have gone down the Palantir rabbit hole, we understand that already. We know Palantir products are best in class, but it's important that these sorts of executives of other companies are then telling the world, like, these products are best in class. Like, you want the best, you go with Palantir, right? I also thought this was interesting. Very interesting. He says, we partner with Palantir because their core values align with ours. It's interesting. Like why even have that, right? I thought that is interesting because I'm just like, that's an interesting thing to talking about their core values align. And so it makes me think about Karp and all the speeches Alex Karp does and talking about America, talking about Western democracy and his views on the world and those sorts of things. And so it's just interesting to hear a man like this running a company, CEO of this business in maybe the Midwest. I can't remember exactly where it was, right? Somewhere rural in the Midwest that maybe has heard Karp talk in the past and is like, I like this guy. I like his views. I like this Palantir company. I like their views and their values and those sorts of things. And so I just thought that was interesting. Very interesting, right? Because it's not something you'd usually see on a presentation like this. So, and the best part is, look at this right here. We win with Palantir because this relationship makes us a better competitor. Well, guess what? If Palantir wants, they can show, other companies in this sort of industry. Here's the results we're getting for this company. Do you want these results? Okay, you don't want these results? Okay, this company's going to kick your butt. Or do you want these results? And so it then becomes like an arms race. And either you can use Palantir and get ahead, or you could not use Palantir and fall behind, right? Amit, what? You'll be flipping my flapjacks. I was not expecting Amit to all of a sudden be there. And I gotta say, man was killing it. Man was knocking it out of the ballpark. I was like, good, well done. Yeah, they had Amit on there interviewing some employees of Palantir and whatnot, talking about the business overall. And I was just like, dang, man, well done. That was awesome. I was unexpected. Like, what the heck? Like, no way. What is Amit there? That's awesome. So the moral of the story here is in regards to Palantir, right? In listening to, and there were so many different companies. If you want to watch the whole thing, it's on YouTube too, if you want to watch the whole thing, right? There was the overall gist of it is Palantir helps you save money it helps you make money, right? And ultimately, at the end of the day, I always tell you guys, all that matters for Palantir, it doesn't matter how expensive the product is. People think about, oh, their product's so expensive. It doesn't matter. All that matters is you make or save more than you spend with Palantir. That's all that matters. If you spend $5 million a year with Palantir, as long as it helps you save as a business more than $5 million, right? Or make more than $5 million, boom, you won. If it's 10 million, 20 million, 50 million, whatever, you win, right? So it's a win-win situation for Palantir and the customers, right? So overall, obviously, I love PayPal. I love Palantir. These are two very different companies. Both have growth. Palantir obviously has a much more exciting growth story, but Palantir obviously comes with a much richer valuation. So we'll see which one outperforms which over the coming years, but I love being a shareholder of both, and I'm very, very optimistic, right? And people sometimes can get impatient with these sorts of stocks, right? And especially with PayPal, I feel like Lou Manheim in the original Wall Street movie, 1987, right? He says, great things take time. Great things take time. That's how great companies are built. And so many times people want to make all the money right now, and you just got to let time work for you. Let time work for you. It's amazing the wonders time can work for you, right? The public count here today, $2.1 million. It's been built over the last, 6-7 years? Time, right? Time has been working for me over time, and then certain stocks got hit very hard. Look at Meta stock in 2022. It was destroyed. Now Meta stock's by far and away my biggest stock, and we're sitting on, 300% gains in that? It made us, $600,000 or some insane amount just on Meta stock alone, right? Let these things take time, okay? You have all the time in the world. Let it work for your advantage, okay? Hey, I want to thank you for watching this video here today on the Clips channel. I want to introduce you to 1000xstocks.com. This is the most valuable service you're going to find out there. If you're an investor in the market, this is a tool that's going to help you immensely get to the next level in the market. So when you're looking at 1000xstocks.com, you're able to understand all the different metrics laid out exactly how you need them as a long-term investor in the market. So let's say I wanted to look at a stock like Palantir. I can go ahead and type in Palantir right here, and it's going to say all Palantir's different metrics right here. Let's say I want to go ahead and look at a stock like Tesla. I can go ahead and type in Tesla right here, search. It's going to give me all Tesla's metrics right there. Let's say I want to look at a stock like PayPal. Go ahead, search it up, and then it's going to give me all PayPal's numbers laid out right there. Compare feature is one of the most valuable features of any service literally in the world. And the reason being is you're able to compare 3 different stocks all next to each other in a matter of seconds. It's absolutely, there's no service you're going to be able to find something like this. So let's say I wanted to find out, what do I think is a better buy? Do I think it's Meta? Do I think it's Google? Or do I think it's, let's say, a stock like Microsoft, for instance, right? So I can go ahead, type all those in there, and then hit compare, and boom, in a matter of, what was that, a second or two, it gave me all the metrics out. So now I can say, okay, Meta's forward P is trading at this, Google's forward P is trading at this, Microsoft's trading at this, and I can go ahead and understand this on a very high level. Additionally, we have earnings calls on here as well. So if I need to listen to any companies I own or am researching their conference calls, I can do it right here through the service. So let's say Tesla, if I want to pull up Tesla's latest conference call, boom, I can play it. I can adjust the speed as well. So if I want to listen to it at 2x speed, I can listen to it at 2x speed, 1.5x. I also have the transcripts of the conference calls as well right here. We're also working on a lot of different new features behind the scenes. So if you would like to apply for access of 1000xstocks.com, go to 1000xstocks.com and you'll be able to fill out an application and go from there. This gentleman, Antonio, talks about he's betting his entire portfolio on these 5 predictions, these 5 stocks. We're going to go through the 5 stocks in this video, and I want to share my opinions, perspectives, if I like these stocks, if I don't like these stocks. So look at that. Palantir. Palantir will transform into the foundational platform for new enterprises, becoming essential for building businesses from scratch. That is another interesting prediction that I just haven't heard a lot of people really go there. And, I'm obviously a pretty good Palantir shareholder. I got $100-something thousand. and the public can invest in Palantir. I've never described it as really becoming essential for building businesses from scratch, I can tell you that much. I really look at Palantir as being at the cross-section of data and artificial intelligence and helping government agencies, the military, helping corporations make much better decisions with their data, right? And at the end of the day, that's going to save lives, it's going to save money, it's going to potentially make you more money if you're a company, right? Those sorts of things. So that's an interesting, I would say, way of describing Palantir, right? Now, in regards to Palantir, we're dealing with a little bit of a him situation in terms of, right? And by the way, the analyst in the 2-year forward P, I think that might be off, my personal opinion. I think it's actually lower than kind of what they have it and kind of, what we're running as far as analyst estimates there. But, you look at trailing 12-month EPS growth, obviously to the moon, triple digits. Current year expected earnings per share growth of 40+%. Next year earnings per share growth, 20+%. If you look at trailing 12-month revenue growth, a little slower, but now growth rates are starting to pick up, right? We're going to, 23%, is that possible for this year? I think that's definitely a possibility. Next year, revenue growth expected around 20%. And the way people are starting to think about Palantir is like a 20%-ish revenue growth story a year, right? Which I think is actually a relatively safe assumption for Palantir, given the positioning of the business. But I do think there's still potential this company could be at a CAGR of, compounded annual growth rate on revenue of 25 or 30% for this next 5 to 7 years. I still think that's actually a possibility. I think 20% is much safer prediction, but I wouldn't rule out a 25% CAGR or even a 30% CAGR over the next 5 to 7 years, right? Imagine an economy that's better and much stronger than certainly the one we've been going through over the past few years with inflation and all the uncertainty, right? Imagine a scenario where Palantir continues to innovate, come out with new game-changing products and services, and AIP continues to build out, right? I mean, I don't think it's crazy to imagine a 25 or 30% CAGR for this company. Gross margins are astronomically high. We all know that, right? Net margins have picked up considerably for this company recently, talking about 16%. Net margins for this company long-term can go to 30% in my personal opinion here. I think we got a long way when it comes to net margin growth for this company overall. So when I look at Palantir, no tears come to my eyes. I mean, it's absolutely, a beautiful stock. Is it as attractive of a potential investment as it was 2 years ago? I could make an argument that it's almost as attractive. Now, obviously, the share price is way up from there, right? It's, back then, we're talking a couple of years ago, the stock was in the $6 to $10 range, right? It's $23 now. But if we go back a couple years ago, Palantir was far riskier. At that point, they were losing a lot of money, right? They didn't have as good of a balance sheet. They still had a good balance sheet back then, but it wasn't as good as it is now. It's even better. Their positioning in the market wasn't as strong as it is now. So although Palantir stock is $23 versus $6 to $10 a couple years ago, I can make an argument that it's a far safer stock now, right? And maybe the risk reward profile is even better now than back when I was buying it a couple years ago, right? So just a little food for thought in regards to that, right? By the way, 1000xstocks.com, if you want access to that or to apply for access to that, I'm going to put that as the pinned comment down there today. www.1000xstocks.com is where you can see all this stuff I'm showing you here. You can also compare 3 different stocks against each other, which is probably my favorite feature, and I think that's most people's favorite feature out there that are using the service so far. And then also we have the earnings calls on here as well, and so you can type in whatever ticker symbol you want, listen to a conference call, speed up the conference call if you want, 1.5x speed, 2x speed, whatever. Listen to transcripts or read the transcripts and all those sorts of things. So pretty darn phenomenal. So that will be the pinned comment down there.